Welcome back. In India, we seem to believe that bringing a new law is the solution to all problems. The biggest problem at this time is of increasing number of lynchings, 31 just in this year. A petition went before the Supreme Court. What did the Supreme Court say? Let's bring a new law. Now, will this help find a solution? I'm not certain, but let me show you the report.
Mobocracy has to be curbed with an iron hand. No citizen can become a law unto himself. The Supreme Court came down hard on Tuesday on the widespread incidents of lynching reported from across the country. Whether related to religion, beef consumption or sheer rumors, the court stressed that mobocracy cannot overtake the rule of law. But how will the mob be stopped? The court recommended that Parliament enact a separate law to punish those who are found guilty of participating in mob violence. But is such a law feasible?
दुनिया में कहीं भी मॉब लिंचिंग संभव नहीं है अगर सत्तारूढ़ दल और सरकार पक्ष से उनका मदद नहीं मिलता है तो।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूरा निर्देश आया है। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि इसी को एक डायरेक्शन समझकर सारे राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री इस पे कार्रवाई करेंगे और जो ऐसे नेतागण जाकर पहले हार फूलमाला पहनाए आते हैं, ऐसे लोगों को जो आरोपी पाए गए हैं, ऐसे आरोपियों को जिनको तिरंगे से सत्कार दिया जाता है, ऐसे लोगों पे काबू लाएंगे।
Special law will have to be in place, and that special law must be such that there has to be speedy trial, speedy investigation, fast track, special task force, something of that kind will have to be done.
The intent is noble, but questions are asked. Will a separate law change anything when the very act of mob violence is given tacit approval by some only for political ends? With Anusha Soni in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So will making a new law help end lynchings? Joining us on the Newsroom showdown tonight, Sanjay Hegde, advocate in the Supreme Court, squaring off against him, Narendra Taneja of the BJP. If making laws, Sanjay Hegde, was the solution to problems, rapes should have ended in our country after the Nirbhaya gang rape, after we introduced a tough law on rapes. Instead, I've got data from 2014 which suggests that the number of rapes every year has actually gone up. How does making a new law, in your view, in any way help fight the menace of mob lynching?
Well, you should read the Supreme Court judgment in its entirety. The Supreme Court has effectively said that a lot of the breakdown of rule of law happens when people do not fear the law. That also happens when the guardians of the law, especially the policemen, are derelict in their duties. A law which specifically fixes responsibility on the policemen and guarantees administrative action in the event that they are derelict, a law which provides for speedy compensation, a law which enables victims to have access to legal aid and other aid in order to continue the fight as far as the prosecution is concerned. All these are not really there, these provisions are not there in the existing law. You gave the Nirbhaya example, but the Nirbhaya example is misleading because the definition of rape itself has been widened. Previously, specific penetration was necessary to constitute rape. Now a lot of other things also constitute rape. That kind of action which was not really seen as falling within the criminal definition of the rape law has also now been incorporated.
Set the stage for this debate. Narendra Taneja, what's the government's view? The Supreme Court today asking for a new law on lynching. Does the government believe bringing a new law on lynching will help fight lynching and mob violence? Do you intend to implement this now? How soon do you see it happen?
You see, the Supreme Court has asked Parliament, and Parliament involves all political parties concerned. But what we have seen, Rahul, that for instance, people who were lynched in 1984, I'm referring of course to the Sikh massacre in Delhi and NCR and many other parts of the country. There are still hundreds and hundreds of people, if not thousands, who haven't got the justice. They are still knocking at the door of, courts in various parts of the country, and they are still sometime holding their dharnas and all that. And many of them are still kind of, are in miserable, conditions. Now the question that happened in 1984, there are hundreds of similar examples from riots against Muslims in Bihar and so many other places, if you look at the history of 1450 years from India. Now the point here is that we can make laws. Rahul, I agree with you. Even after Nirbhaya, the law is there. But has the number gone down? I'm not saying I understand the spirit of the Supreme Court's, overall judgment. But the point here is that, we have laws. And the important thing, how do we implement those laws? That is the main thing. How do we need
Let
more
me put that question to Sanjay Hegde, who was supporting the idea of a new law, because I'm going through some of what the Supreme Court said. Curb and stop dissemination of irresponsible explosive messages on various social media platforms. Central and state government should broadcast on radio and television and other media platforms, including the official websites, that lynching and mob violence shall invite serious consequence. I mean, this is a bit absurd. Lynching and mob violence will invite serious consequence. You don't need to take out an ad. We have a much bigger problem. A problem where these mobs are going crazy and lynching people. Putting out an ad saying, oh, if you lynch someone, you will end up behind bars. That's the most absurd ad. You have to change mindsets here. Taking out an ad which says you will get jailed if you lynch someone. Why do you need an ad for that?
How do you change mindsets, Rahul? How do you change mindsets? And what exactly is lynching? Well, how does lynching happen? Lynching happens when you think that it is all right to beat up whoever is the enemy, whether it is a Muslim with a cow or an unknown person with a child, or who you accuse of child lifting. What happens is that the mob begins to gather.
In 1984.
And they are not people who always come in with a prior purpose. Mr. Taneja, please do not interrupt me. It's not people who come sometimes with a prior purpose. Often murder happens when it is common assault which is taken too far. If you join a mob which is lynching someone, the consequence is that you too will be guilty of lynching, you will be guilty of murder. And what this judgment says is that in the first instance, in such cases, the court should levy the maximum punishment possible. We have seen recently in Hapur.
Tell you how you change mindsets, Narendra Taneja.
The local police on the spot
you change mindsets when you ensure that senior ministers in the Modi Sarkar, like the Harvard-educated Jayant Sinha, don't garland lynchers. You don't give them respect and stature. Look at those images. These are people who are accused of lynching. One of the most cerebral, intelligent ministers in your government is going about welcoming them, garlanding them. One of your other MPs from Jharkhand is giving them legal aid and advice. Now, when these things happen, that gives mob lynchers the license to go out and kill. They say, dekho, the minister is welcoming us. This is the mindset that needs to change, Narendra Taneja. A law won't help, I guarantee that. Change the mindset. Stop these leaders from glorifying lynchers.
You see, it's for the parliament to decide whether the parliament wants to make a law. Parliament is sovereign, parliament is supreme. Now the question is, as I said earlier, there are thousands of people in the country, and if you want, I can provide names of at least 200 very easily. Those who suffered in 1984 riots, which basically gave fourth-fifth majority to the Congress party in turn. The question is that what happened to law there? What happened to justice to those people? Now the people know that, look, this is what the Congress workers did, and they are still moving around. They have become leaders,
what does 1984 have to do with this? One second, don't digress. Don't keep saying that Parliament is supreme. Tell me this. Does the Modi government intend to bring a law? One second, Narendra Taneja, no. Does the Modi government intend to bring a law against mob lynching or not? Answer that question. Yes, Parliament is supreme. Parliament will decide. You have a majority in the Lok Sabha. Are you committed to do as the Supreme Court says, bring a law against mob lynching? Yes or no? Answer just that question. This has nothing to do with 1984. Don't digress.
No. 1984 is very important. You can ignore it. India's
I'm not
India
ignoring
can't.
it.
Ask the family which has suffered.
I am not ignoring it. What happened in 1984 was pathetic. What happened in 1984 was mass murder. The Congress government of that time is partly responsible for what happened. There is no question, but I'm not interested in that. You are in power. People are being lynched on your watch. Tell me, Narendra Taneja, what you intend to do about it. Don't tell me what happened 30 years ago. That has happened. We don't like what happened. We are furious about it. But that is not the issue before us now. Lynchings are happening, 31 lynchings just this year. Do you or do you not intend to bring a new law? Respond to my question, Mr. Taneja.
No, first of all, Rahul, lynching is unacceptable. It's an uncivilized thing, and in a civilized society like India, it's absolutely unacceptable. Number one. Number two, as far as this judgment has come only this morning against a petition filed by a Congress leader who is very close to who's part of the first family of the Congress party. The law ministry will study it and ultimately will have to have discussion in Parliament, because the Supreme Court has asked Parliament, not the government. You see, so the Parliament will take a view on that, whether a new law is necessary or not. So as I said, Parliament is supreme. And of course, since it has come to, law ministry will also take a view on this. This came out only today. It needs to be studied. I, as a spokesman, can't come and say, all right, this is the stand of the party, or this is the view, this is what we're going to do. This is going to be carefully studied by the people who knows these things better than me. And then after that, the Parliament, it has to be discussed by Parliament.
Of course,
both
it has
upper house and lower house. We don't have majority in the upper house.
No, of course it has to be discussed with Parliament. You were saying, Santosh Hegde, that how will the mindset change? And I think that really is the one most pressing question facing us, because you've got, for example, in that report we just played out from Bidar in Karnataka, a car without a number. You've got one person who's speaking a foreign language. In this case, it happened to be Arabic. You've got foreign made chocolates, and you've got local people going completely crazy, going and lynching a youth, attacking two of his friends. Now, these are things that seem to be happening on auto mode. It's almost as if something has happened out in the countryside. People are going crazy, and I personally am of the view that bringing a new law is no solution to that problem.
Well, bringing a law is part of the solution. It's not the only solution. Yeah, and you asked as to how does a mindset change. A mindset will change when it becomes incumbent upon each of us as an individual to say that we support the weaker against the strong and those who are in a majority. It will happen when those of us who stand up individually and say that the mob is not always right, that those who have the numbers on their side are not always right. That is the mindset change that has to happen. You saw one brave Sikh policeman hugging a fellow who was accused of a love jihad, and the mob melted away. That was one man who stood against the mob. We rarely in India stand for individuals who are in trouble against huge groups. That mindset can definitely change if and when there is a concentrated campaign saying that this is wrong.
This is a deeply troubling problem. I'm not certain that there are any easy answers. It requires a comprehensive strategy. A new law is not necessarily the only way to deal with this. And we need will, we need determination. Garlanding, welcoming, lionizing these lynchers, giving them legal aid, that is not the way. You do this, you are not helping find solutions, you are adding to the problem. Of that there can be no doubt. Narendra Taneja, Sanjay Hegde for squaring off on the Newsroom Showdown tonight. Thank you. I'm slipping into a break.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.